Did America lose the war in Afghanistan, or did we lose the occupation? Representative Khanna joins Thom Hartmann to discuss. Like, subscribe, share it with your friends and family, ding the bell, and leave your comments below.
Johnny in Lamarck, Texas. You're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. I'm afraid that the way the people around the world are going to interpret the motives of the American government under Biden and the Pentagon in a matter of how we pull out of Afghanistan, the so-called pullout, leaving 18,000 mercenaries behind, along with a handful of covert spies, is going to be compared to the way the Chinese view the freedom fighters in Hong Kong, as well as how they micromanage the Uyghurs in those so-called education camps. In other words, they're going to liken the Americans as being not being able to trust anybody, that they feel they have to watch everybody up close because they think that everyone's looking to hammer them down all the time.
Got it. Let's get the Congressman's comment, Johnny. We're almost out of time.
I think we have to give the president credit for actually pulling all the troops out. There was a large debate whether to keep special operations forces there, whether to have small presence there. And he said, no, it's going to start a war. Now, in terms of the 18,000 contractors, I certainly don't think they're comparable to what's happening with the Uyghurs or China, but I do agree that we shouldn't have them be doing any activity that could be military or conflict in any way, and we should look at how we start to bring them back.
21 minutes past the hour. Congressman Khanna with us. Congressman, you just took a call about the pullout of Afghanistan, and it occurs to me that there's if I may just take host's privilege here and throw a question at you.
Yeah, please.
It appears that there is a distinction that General McChrystal pointed out to me. Stanley Crystal. This was like more than a decade ago. I was at a meeting in New York City, and we were talking privately, and he made the comment, we can't kill our way out of Vietnam or out of Afghanistan, and then he said there is a difference between winning a war and winning an occupation. Wars are easy to win when you've got a military like ours. Occupations are almost impossible. That was what the British tried to do with North America and India. Occupations almost never work over the long term, and it's crazy for us to do it. Now, I'm paraphrasing from memory, but I'd like your thoughts on that.
Well, that's a brilliant insight and absolutely correct. And that's what morphed from Afghanistan into a war to take out al-Qaeda, take out the government that hosted al-Qaeda because of the attacks of 9/11. And it became this sense of, well, can we reconstruct Afghan society to be democratic and a liberal democracy? And that hasn't worked. It didn't work in Afghanistan. It didn't work in Iraq. It hasn't worked in Libya. It has not worked in wherever we have tried it.
Vietnam.
And so I think Vietnam, it didn't work in Vietnam. It hasn't worked in trying to overthrow Assad or the Iranian regime. I mean, this sense that we can go in, throw out a regime, rebuild a society militarily, I think is just practically naive and putting aside all the questions of the moral debate. And so having more humility about our military prospects of creating society, I think, is necessary. And that's why I think Biden's decision was so important, because he says, if we keep small special operation forces there, they're going to be the embers for future conflict. And I actually think his speech is worth reading as sort of a indictment of the theory of forever war.
Yeah, it seems to me like the bumper sticker here is we won both wars. We won them in the first few months. We are losing the occupation because that's what happens with occupations, and it's time to it's time to end the occupation, not the war. The war was won long ago, or words to that effect. I don't know. Maybe that's too nuanced for the average American.
That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right, and because it's not a surrender. I mean, we achieved a lot of the objectives. We got Bin Laden. We got al-Qaeda. The point is, what were we doing for 20 years with all this loss of life? And people say, well, what about women's rights and children's rights? And I'm sympathetic to the argument that you want to protect women's rights, but you're not calculating or taking into account all the women and children who are dying, literally thousands of Afghani women and children dying because of the war. And our best way
Or the
there are
occupation.
A lot of other tools. Yeah, because of the occupation. There you go.